Welcome to Hockey Nights in Vegas, episode 40. My name is Eddie Rivkin. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Joe Payne. We'd like to, before we start any of this stuff, we want to thank the Las Vegas Advisor for being one of our best supporters. If it happens in Las Vegas, it happens on the Las Vegas Advisor. Joe, the Golden Knights are 3-0 after 3 games. They just completed a 5-2 pretty sound smashing of the Seattle Kraken. I guess the sky's not falling after all.
Yeah, not only is the sky not falling, they scored 2 goals on 5 shots, 1 goal 12 seconds into the game. And before the game, I didn't know who was going to be goaltending for Seattle. And I was watching the pregame show and I realized that Martin Jones was in. I immediately ran to the sports book. I just got on the street. I bet the over 6.5.
Get me some over, though.
Yeah, get me some over action. But I did have to sweat. It was 5-0, and Seattle hadn't. All of a sudden, ADIN Hill became not the problem that we thought he may have been. Getting his first start, he looked really good. Again, Seattle really didn't pressure him too much, and then he wound up scoring 2 late goals to make my over bet a winner. So I'm happy about that.
Well, go ahead.
Okay. It's interesting, and you and I had discussed this. How much is Logan Thompson going to be able to play this year? If it's just him and Hill, and because we know Leonard's gone for the season, and LB is who knows when he's going to return.
Wait, hold on. We actually, a couple of times during the broadcast, we know that LB is skating with the team, and we know that they're talking about activating him fairly soon. So okay, it's not just flying out there by Uranus anymore.
Okay,
we're getting closer to having the 1-2 that I think they expected.
So what if LB does come back? What happens to Hill, in your opinion, anyway?
You know what? He signed for a couple of $1 million. I mean, what do? You put him through waivers and it becomes Hill and Hutchinson in Henderson, I guess.
I don't know.
I don't know.
If Cassidy is going to do every third game, give Logan a night off, if you do the math on an 82 game season, that means Logan is going to probably play about 55, 56 games. And who is ever the number 2 is going to be playing 26 to 27 games, which is, in my opinion, a manageable load for a young player like Logan, who's very athletic and looks to be in excellent shape. Not going to be overloaded. But now with the LB on the horizon, it kind of murks the waters a little bit, and they're not going to carry 3 goaltenders. They can't afford to carry 3 goaltenders.
No, they can't afford to carry 3 goaltenders. And I think the 2-1 might not necessarily be the exact case. It works out this time because I'm sure that they wanted Logan Thompson to play against Calgary Tuesday night. So this makes perfect sense. I'm sure if we got really nerdy and looked into the schedule, we could find some 3-game patches with extra days off where they might play them every time. I don't know that formula is the same, but even if it is, 50, 55, 27 or something like that, it still doesn't really solve the riddle of what do you do with the emergency backup plan, ADIN Hill, that you signed.
Yeah.
If LB gets healthy and stays healthy.
Well, I think Tuesday night's going to be a test for Logan Thompson. He's going to be playing against a team that's just, putting the biscuit in the net. I mean, they scored 4 tonight against Edmonton in a 4-3 final. So I mean, that'll be a test for him. Because if you look at the 2 opponents that he's faced, LA, which is not a real high scoring offense, and then you have the Chicago Blackhawks, who probably are in the running for the number 1 draft pick. And Vegas barely got out of that game 1-0. I mean, he threw a shutout, and I think Cassidy was pretty obvious when he made a point about accountability to the players the following day at City National Arena. Basically showed him the tape of the game and said, you guys have to be a little more accountability for here for, he didn't come out and say that, you're playing the worst team in the league and you only beat them 1-0, but it was obvious what the message was.
Well, then let's get out of order then, because I think the my biggest takeaway, not as much from the results of the game, is that Bruce Cassidy sends a message and the messages are being received. Moving Marchessault down to the third line. Kessel got a little bit of extra rest in the second period against Chicago after taking 2 fairly lazy stick penalties in the neutral zone. And I think that things like that, behavior like that from the coach that is sent in a message form, and he said it after the practice, and he apologized for using the word hammer, but he said the only hammer the coach has is ice time.
Right.
And he seems to be 3 games in, very much a man of his word. If he sends a message, if he sends the message and you receive the message, but you don't act on the message that was sent, your ice time is going to be cut down. And imagine this: we have 3 healthy scratches, right? We have 3 healthy. We have
can't get him can't get him in the lineup this year. And last year, we couldn't get him out of the lineup.
Right. I mean, before we had to beg to get enough skaters, and now, knock on wood, we have 3 healthy people who are pushing to get in the lineup. So even Phil Kessel, with a Hall of Fame resume, and Jonathan Marchessault as an original misfit, I believe if Bruce Cassidy tells you something, you should pretty well expect that that's going to be the law of the land. And if you don't react, regardless of the number you wear on your sweater, your ice time is going to be impacted. And I think that if you go way back to the beginning, when we first met Coach Cassidy and we were talking about, is he the right fit? Is he 8 days out of Boston? And I told you, he's always been an accountability guy.
Right.
And we've heard that word 100 different times, not only from him, but from the players and from the broadcasters talking about it. And as a whole, it seems like the message is being sent, and it's being sent very clearly.
Right.
And it's being received, and you can see the hammer being swung 3 games in. And I think that is fantastic and bodes amazingly well for the Golden Knights.
And Cassidy also made the point of saying, you want to take care of business early in the season. You don't want to have to be in a position like the Knights were last season, where they were playing every game like it was a playoff game in order to get into the playoffs. Take care of your business early in October, and you don't have to really worry too much about games in late April. But what I do find interesting is the Knights have had 3 head coaches, and they've all been so dramatically different, starting with Gallant being more of a player's coach, of kind of keeping people together because he felt that they were more comfortable together, where DeBoer was more of, didn't have the kind of communication with the players that Gallant had, and obviously that combined that with the injuries, it kind of made him lose his job. And now we have Cassidy, who's pretty much, as you said, he's not afraid to lay the hammer down and move people around the lineup. Now, moving Marchessault down to the third line, do you think, is that more of a demotion, or is that more of balancing out the 12 forwards for the Golden Knights?
I don't think it was much of a demotion. I think that if you think about the realm of matchups, if you think about Marchessault and Carlson and X, put any winger you want, because they've been talking a lot about pairs: Stevenson and Stone, Kessel and Eichel, Marchessault and Carlson. If you think about Marchessault and Carlson having 5 years of chemistry and playing against third line, third pair defensemen,
it's interesting. It's interesting.
It looks like it could be a significant matchup advantage for the Golden Knights. I mean, think about it. If you take Toronto and you say the top 2 lines are a push, and you take Colorado and you say the top 2 lines are a push, and Calgary with Huberdeau and stuff like that. If it comes down to needing third and fourth line scoring, how happy are you to have Carlson and Jonathan Marchessault on your third line together? And when you put them together like they have the last couple of games with a grinder who can score like Paul Cotter, who we'll get to later in the episode, I think it's a very pleasant mismatch that they're able to create.
Yeah, actually, and having Carlson and Marshall with Cotter and Riley Smith made an interesting comment after the game against Chicago the other night. He asked about Cotter playing with them, but with them I'm meaning Marshall and Carlson, and he said if he just gets open, they're going to make him a rich man, meaning that his
fantastic,
which is a great line.
What a fantastic quote from a guy who really. And
doesn't say much.
No disrespect whatsoever to Riley Smith. Not the most quotable guy. He just stays in his lane and does his own thing and is very good at it.
Right.
But man, what a spectacular quote that was, right? In the locker room.
And when I know we're going to get to Cotter eventually in his podcast, but I mean, he took a really bad hit tonight too. I don't know how that was on a penalty. He got hit square in the numbers.
Yeah,
he wasn't
happy.
Mad.
Oh, he's steamed.
And the only, okay, there's a question I want to ask you. 3 games in, what is your highlight of the first 3 games? Or is there anything that you're disappointed in the first 3 games?
I think the highlight is just that they've bought in. I think that the great unknown, because we've learned now specifically that you see nothing in preseason. It's just
nothing.
No,
they didn't just the power play didn't drop the puck back in preseason, and then we get to regular season.
So
there they go again.
So 3 games into the real season, my biggest takeaway is clearly that they're buying into the change in systems, offensively and defensively. And I just like, God, vibe is such a hipster word. The team just looks good, right? They seem like they're very focused. We've talked about it in other episodes that they're going to have a big chip on their shoulder, and clearly they're playing with it. Clearly, this, they're going to, a lot of people still think they're going to struggle to make the playoffs. I absolutely do not. I think this 3 games is a message to the NHL that you're not going to come into the fortress and run over the Golden Knights, and that they're going to be a tough team to play against.
They will be a tough out this year if they stay healthy, and that's
sure. As far as I don't think anything is disappointing to me yet. I am still a little bit concerned about the breakouts. Our friend Lindsey Brown asked Coach Cassidy a direct question about having the wingers high on the half wall, and he explained that it gives them 2 ways to beat the defenseman, pinching or not pinching. And I understand that, but the breakout it's just not crisp yet, right? I think that they're still sort of growing into their communication between side to side defensemen and the zones that they're supposed to protect and things like that. Not disappointed at all. It's 3 games at game speed, and you can see that it's starting to work a little bit more the more reps that they're getting in, live fire reps.
There are 2 things that I'm a little disappointed about. And I know you talked about the breaking out of the zone. I'm a little still disappointed in their entering the zone. I think they're not really entering with a lot of speed right now. And the second disappointment I have so far is their lack of physicality and their lack of response. Now tonight, Stone took a pretty nasty cross check to the back very late in the game, and against Tanev, I believe is the good player. And he was on the ice at the end of the game, and there was a scrum along the wall, and both Colasar and Carrier, the 2 toughest guys on the team, were on the ice. I thought that was a great opportunity to say, hey, listen, you're just not going to do that to not only our captain, but a guy coming back from a back surgery, taking a pretty nasty cross check. Stone was not happy about it. And I don't like the lack of. I'm an old hockey guy. We both grew up in the era of, like, a tooth. What's that saying?
Eye
I
for an
forget.
eye and a
An
tooth
eye
for
for
a
an eye, a
tooth.
tooth. Yeah, tooth for a tooth. I thought the opportunity it was 5-2. There was seconds left to go in the game. Somebody should have taken a poke at him and said, "Hey, listen, you're not going to do that. And if you do, you're going to have to answer to me or Colasar or vice versa." And then the
Well,
other night too, I don't think the defenseman had any hits at all. And I understand if you have the puck, you're not going to get any hits, but they had very little. The forwards had more hits than the defensemen in the LA game, and that was a pretty close game where equal amount of puck possession time.
well, I'm not gonna disrespect what happened at the end of the game tonight, but I'm going to give you one little aside. Yes, Colasar was on the ice. Yes, Carrier was on the ice. Yes, Brandon Tanev was on the ice. But there was also another player on the ice from Seattle who they call Big Rig,
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Jamie Olesiak, right? 6'8", 254 pounds. Okay. Maybe not necessarily the tallest. Him and Soderblom in Detroit are both 6'8", but he might weigh the most. And he's an accomplished, that's why they put him out there. So I agree it was a dirty hit. I suspect that Mark Stone took a receipt for Mr. Tanev. They don't see each other, I think, till near Thanksgiving. But listen, this team is not going to be hugely physical in that way. And there was somebody that I was listening to, I can't remember what it was, who kept complaining that they were getting out hit. And it was the post game after Chicago. And Ryan Wallace said, in as gentle a way as he could, trying not to smash the caller, that you can't hit people when you have the puck all the time.
I heard that also.
And their puck possession numbers are pretty stout. And but these days, this is not going to be year one. There's not going to be the meat grinders line. That's over with. The fourth line is going to be counted on to chip in offensively now. Walk, Carrier.
And they did tonight.
And they did tonight, right off the hop. And good for Keegan Colasar. He finished early. And the fact that he got his first goal much earlier in the season this year, hopefully the young man takes a bunch of confidence, going forward with that.
Right.
And the fourth line is going to be functional not only as a tide shifting kind of line, but also to chip in offensively.
Yeah, and Cassie's not afraid to start the game with him to create some energy.
Not one bit.
And he also, if you remember correctly, in the LA game, he had them on the ice with
at the end,
minute and a half to go in a 3-3 game.
And we'll just jump back 1 second, goes to after the fifth game of the preseason, he said he needed more from them.
Right.
And clearly that message was received.
Right.
Right.
And
they start the periods now, right? They're out there in all situations. He's getting from them what he expects from them.
And he's not afraid to play all four lines. He's so far, well, there's really been no reason to shorten the bench because they were in a 3-3 game. They were in a 1-0 game. Tonight, they could have shortened the bench, but in a defensive kind of way, maybe sit guys out, don't really, even though they have almost 3 days off, they don't play till Tuesday night now, right? So they got Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night off. So, but no, Cassidy, he has actually made a statement where he said he wants everybody to kind of have equal minutes. He doesn't want some forwards having a bulk of the minutes and
no forward over 20 minutes.
Right.
That's what the guiding principle is going to be.
Right.
And listen, that bodes well for their long-term health. It bodes well for them being fresher in a stretch run to the playoffs or in a playoff.
And multiple back-to-back games, which I don't know how many they have this year. Last year, I think they had 6 series of multiple back-to-back games. I haven't really looked at the schedule that deeply to count them, but I'll do. But for our next podcast, I'll see how many actual back-to-back games they do have this season. But it's probably going to be 6 or 7. What I did find interesting, because I was kind of going back and forth with the Edmonton Calgary game is that how is two division opponents, Edmonton and Calgary, only playing each other 3 times? Did the NHL do something different with the schedule this year, where you're only playing your division opponent 3 times in a 82 game season? That doesn't seem to make any sense.
I don't think that
Yeah,
that's I
I
don't
saw it. I saw it on. I was watching. I have DirecTV. I have the NHL package. So on a commercial break, I happened to go over to the Calgary Edmonton game, and they had the Battle of Alberta, and they had the schedule it was tonight, and there's 2 other games for the rest of the season, and I'm like, how are they only playing each other 3 times? Uh, Usually, you play a division opponent at least 5 times, right?
I thought that was the case, but then again, when we were watching the game tonight, um, they don't play Seattle. They play Seattle just before Thanksgiving,
And then
and
not
then
till
not
April.
again till April.
So is that only 3 times?
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're spreading out the love and playing. I
Where,
mean,
where are they picking up the extra games? Are they playing? They're only going to play the Eastern Conference teams 2 times, one on the road and one at home, right? So are they getting more games against the Central Division?
it must be by conference. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of stuff. It doesn't. I don't know.
It's off your radar.
It bores
not in
me.
your as someone would say. It's not your purvey.
Right. It's like Corsi and stuff like that.
All right.
I know what it means, but if we spent our time talking about Corsi every episode, we would have 0 listeners, no matter how many funny jokes we make. So, okay. So the Golden Knights have played 3 periods, right? 3 games, 9 periods.
Yep.
I would say I was happy with 7 of the 9 periods.
What were the 2 you were disappointed in?
I was not happy with their start against Chicago.
Okay.
And I was not happy with their 3rd period tonight. They were up 5 goals, but there's still a right way to play, right? And they didn't play it, and they kind of mailed it in. And when you mail it in and you don't play the right way, that's when bad things happen and people get hurt. And I think that I understand taking your foot off the gas.
Yeah,
I absolutely do. But you know what? You still have to show up. And they didn't really they got outshot, what, 14-5 or 14-6 or something like that.
Keep in mind of the score and keep in mind of the opponent.
Yes, of course.
They've never lost to the Kraken. Yeah, I believe they're 5-0 against them, and they're up 5-0. Yeah, you're going to take your foot off the gas a little bit.
But you still have to play the right way. There was way too many turnovers in the 3rd period. They just didn't move their feet. And they'll probably talk about it. I think they probably wanted to get a shutout for Adin Hill, right? I thought I think they could have played a better conservative 3rd period tonight. And the start against Chicago was really surprising because Chicago played the night before, flew in, and had more jump and better sticks than the Golden Knights coming out of the gate. Now,
opening night.
Could the Golden Knights have been looking at their reflection in the gold carpet?
Yep.
And all of the this and the that, right? But that's normally reserved for banner winning teams.
Yeah, well, obviously Colorado dispelled that theory because I even told you that you could probably bet Chicago opening night when Colorado raising the banner, and I was really wrong about that. And I think they won 5-2 against Chicago.
But all in all, are you happy with a 3-0 start?
Yes, and actually, when I looked at the schedule, I said at least 2-0. The only game that I had concern about was LA, and our game was close until Stone scored with 26 seconds to go. So I'm not surprised that they're 3-0. I'm happy, but I am happy that they're 3-0. I thought they would win 2 games. I figured they would definitely beat Chicago, which they barely beat, and I knew I was pretty confident on them up in the Pacific Northwest where they seemed to good, and with Shea Theodore, he ought to just stay there and play up there. He's unbelievable up in the Kraken territory.
Okay, but the Kings game, yes, it was back and forth and it was close till the end. But if you take the score out, they completely outplayed the Kings. 51-24 in shots or something, 25 shots, right? I think that the Kings game was their best game. There are going to be mistakes. We're going to be talking about little mistakes probably 20 games in, right? It's still a brand new system. The oven is preheating. It hasn't even really started to bake much yet. But I thought the way that they dominated the significantly better of the three teams that they've played so far was the best indicator that we've seen. They have had trouble in LA, right? The second game last year, they got skunked, plus Pacioretty got hurt, plus Stone got hurt. This year, first game in LA, and they owned them. I mean, they beat them up and down the ice, all three zones. Yes, the game was close. Yes, Stone scored at the end. I acknowledge all of that stuff. But as far as the territorial advantage of the game and the flow of the game and the puck possession and the face-off circle and all of those other things, they completely dominated the team that most experts say is going to be the second place team in the division, them and Edmonton, right?
Right. And LA had a pretty good outing against a former goaltender that used to play for the Vegas Golden Knights. He was pulled tonight too. I believe he gave up at least 5 goals that I'm aware of.
Who?
Fleury.
Oh, he gave up 7 the night. He gave up a touchdown the night 2 nights ago.
And
it wasn't him tonight, I don't think. I think
yes,
it
it
was
was.
the other guy.
It was.
Yeah?
He started. Yep, he started. I watching segments of that game when I could, and it was like 5-1, and then it actually was 3-0, and then I turned it back on. It was 3-2. Minnesota came back, and then he gave up the softest. Fleury gave up a goal he should have never given up. The 4th goal by LA was a shot from the blue line, 60 feet out, that he completely whiffed on, and you had to see how upset he was with himself. He took a stick and he slammed it against the glass. And then next thing I know, when I turned it back on, he was no longer there, and the score was like 7-something, 7-5, 7-4.
Yeah, I think he gave up a touchdown on Thursday night.
He didn't give up all 7. Actually, I shouldn't say that because I don't know. When I turned it on, he was no longer in the net, and the score was like 7-4, 7-5. So, yeah, he's probably, this may be his last year.
Oh,
but now when you look back, maybe the head minds of the Vegas Golden Knights saw the beginning of the end and got out from underneath the $7 million contract. I know everybody's screaming about, oh my God, I can't believe they did this to Fleury. He's supposed to retire here. But now that you look at he's had, and they played with a really shitty team in Chicago, but he went with, when he got traded at the trade deadline to Minnesota, he had a pretty decent team in front of him, and he kind of self-destructed in the playoffs. I mean, they went with him, and they put Talbot on the bench, and now Talbot's gone from Minnesota, and Fleury's their guy, and it hasn't looked so good so far for Fleury in Minnesota. So we'll see.
Well, now comes the part of the show where I have to make a confession. Joe, you've known me a long time. I have a Coke problem.
You need a new dealer.
I've had a Coke problem for close to 50 years.
50
years. I've had a Coke problem, I think, probably for the better part of 50 years.
Wow.
Coca-Cola is the enemy of my diet.
Oh, really?
But my friend, Dr. J.J. Pierce at Ageless Forever, www.agelessforever.net, said he can fix my Coke problem, my 50-year Coke problem. So I've started on a medication to help some things that are going on with me. And next week, I'm going to meet with a nutritionist, and I'm going on a diet. Folks, you heard that right. You can mark it. I said I'm going on a diet. And I'm willing to back my diet with a bet. If any of you see me out anywhere, and Joe and I go out, and we'll talk about our favorite Italian restaurant a little bit later in the episode. If any of you see me out drinking a Coca-Cola, not a Diet Coke, because I wouldn't drink that shit anyways, a regular red can Coca-Cola, and you come up to me and say, hey, fat boy, I see you're drinking a Coca-Cola, I will give you $100.
Do I get 100 because I saw you last night having a Coke?
Nope. The bet starts
When is the
Monday morning.
morning?
Monday
So
morning.
you'll have a Coke tomorrow, possibly?
I might have 18 Cokes tomorrow.
Do you have 18 Cokes in your refrigerator?
No, but I have a number of restaurants near my house that have unlimited fountain Cokes. But that's not the point of this. The point of this is www.agelessforever.net. My friend, Dr. John Pierce, can help you. This is not some phony baloney supplement that you call a number and enter a text code and they send you a bottle of shit and charge you $90 a month. This isn't that. Guys, if you really want to take control of your life, if you have bad habits, like I have a bad Coke habit. Yes, I have a bad Coke habit. Call up Dr. Pierce. Make an appointment to see him. If you mention that you found him through Hockey Nights in Vegas, you get a free consultation. Tell the man what's ailing you, and he can help fix you. This is his specialty, is men's health and women's health. Not regular doctoring stuff, specific wellness to make you better. And women, this is also good for you. So don't be afraid to call him up and talk to him. I have a whole list of things over here. Let me bring up my little screen here. Ladies, do you have a change in your menstrual cycle? Do you have decreased libido? Are you having hot flashes? Are you moody? Ladies, are you moody? Be honest with yourselves, or we'll ask your men, and your men will tell us you're definitely moody. How about the night sweats? Do you wake up and your sheets are soaked and you didn't have sex the night before? Vaginal dryness. And I'm not going to say anything more about that.
Did you really go there?
It says it on my sheet. And weight gain. Ladies, have you suddenly gained weight? If any of these symptoms of yours are your, oh God, if if you suffer from any of these symptoms, those are signs of menopause, premenopause, bad things going on with your hormone. Dr. Pierce, www.agelessforever.net. He's got something for you ladies too. You get the free consultation too. Do something good for yourselves. You owe it to yourselves, ladies. Guys,
and their man too.
And their men. You owe it to your man as well. And ladies, you know, I'm telling you the truth. The better you take care of yourself, the better your man will take care of you. I just totally made that up. I have no idea if it's true or not.
Oh, it's true, by the way.
The point is
absolutely true
that if I can break my Coke habit, you can fix yourselves. You can lose weight. You can feel better. You can do things for yourself, and you owe it to yourself to do it. And Dr. JJ Pierce at www.agelessforever.net. That's the way to go. Make sure that you fill out the form. You take advantage of the free consultation because you're a fan of Hockey Nights in Vegas, and get on the road to better health. There's still time to be the best you for Christmas season and holiday season and all those other fun times a year. So do that and take care of yourself. And that'll be the end of this week's wacky read for agelessforever.net. Now back to the show. Joe, can you see this?
Tapping yourself on the back. I do
right.
See it. Yeah.
Any idea why I'm patting myself on the back?
Because you're narcissistic?
Perhaps. Perhaps. But I did make the pronouncement that Paul Cotter was going to be the guy that made the team.
We're on Paul Cotter now.
We've transitioned to Paul Cotter. I said after the first exhibition game, he's the guy that's going to break the lineup. And everybody said, you don't know what you're talking about. And I go, okay, you're probably right. I don't know what I'm talking about. Paul Cotter has 3 goals in 9 NHL games.
And
he has a game-winning goal against Chicago. He's a very physical player. He's been moved up from the 4th line to the 3rd. And I don't want to say I told you so. Well, I really do want to tell you, all you naysayers, that I do know what I'm talking about with this little ditty. And
post game, I did ask Paul exactly that same question. I asked him, "How's it feel to have your 3rd NHL goal in 9 games and a game winner on top of that?" And you'll hear and see his answer. But we also want to talk about his hat. his fedora, so to speak, which made a pretty big hit on social media.
Listen, there are some pretty stylish guys on the Vegas Golden Knights. There are some that ain't, but the fact that that young man at 22, or maybe he might have just turned 23, rolled down the gold carpet in a hitman suit with a fedora. Come on, man. Sunglasses, the whole, I mean,
he was the talk of the gold carpet.
Right? I
He
mean,
was. Everybody's talking about Paul Cotter and his hat and his suit, and he made a statement. He made a statement on the gold carpet, and then he made a statement on the ice. Hey, Paul, third NHL goal in 9 games and a game winner. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's a pretty good ratio for me. It's nice. Obviously, when production happens, it's rewarding. It's great. It's a good feeling, especially the first one's out of the way. So, but I've got to stick to my game. My game's not always scoring first goal for sure. It's staying physical, making sure I win my board battles, and creating energy for the guys. And when production comes, it's kind of a bonus. So, I mean, great feeling, obviously.
So you wear your lucky hat back out for next home game?
Yeah, well, I gotta keep it. I gotta keep it going. I guess I have to.
You made a big hit on social media. Your hat.
Oh, great! Can't wait to see that.
And Paul Cotter, we're inviting you on the podcast, not directly because we have to go through channels, but this is an open invitation to Paul Cotter to be the first Golden Knights player to join the Hockey Nights in Vegas podcast.
Well, active player.
First active player. That's correct. So, Paul, we're going to reach out to the team and ask the team to ask you if you want to do our podcast. But this is us calling you out saying, if you come on the podcast, you better bring the fedora.
Bring the fedora,
or you're not going to hear the end of it.
And to kind of give him a kind of a carrot, so to speak, to come on the show. We're going to have him have dinner with us at Roma Deli, which is you and I's our favorite Italian restaurant in all of Las Vegas. And I know food. When my friends come out from Brooklyn to visit me, I take them to Roma Deli at 5755 West Spring Mountain Road between Lindell and Jones. And they always say to me, every person that I've taken there said, this is like being in Brooklyn. This is how good the food is. So if you're in Las Vegas, you need to go to Roma Deli, 5755 Spring Mountain Road between Lindell and Jones. And you can tell them Hockey Nights in Vegas sent you if you're looking for good Italian food.
So that's it, Paul. You're getting a free great Italian dinner, but you got to bring the fedora.
Yeah, the fedora is a must.
You can show up in sweats and shower shoes. That's no problem. But that fedora and those shades have to come to the podcast.
Absolutely. We look forward to having them.
We're getting close to the end. Let's talk about the week coming up, Joe. They've got a couple of days off. They're probably already on the plane headed up to Calgary, as our good friends in the broadcast booth refer to it. But the Golden Knights have the first pretty significant week of the schedule, I would say. They play Tuesday night in Calgary, then they're home to the Winnipeg Jets, and then the Colorado Avalanche, the defending Stanley Cup champions, make their return to the Fortress at T-Mobile on Saturday, the 22nd of October, a 7:00 puck drop. What do you expect as the Golden Knights schedule significantly ramps up?
Well, 2 of the next 3 opponents are going to be not going to be a walk in the park, that's for sure. Winnipeg might be a somewhat of an easy game compared to playing Calgary and Colorado. I'm actually a little bit surprised that the team stayed up out of town and went to Canada with the 2.5 days off. I thought they would come back to Vegas and just, players like staying at home. You don't like being on the road. You try to be on the road as least as possible. I'm a little surprised at the scheduling here that they didn't come home, considering the fact that they could have been home. Seattle's only about an hour and a half flight from to Vegas.
Well, I guess I should say that I don't know for sure that they.
No, they did. I think Dave Gosher said that they were heading to Calgary after the game.
Yeah, I mean listen, it's team bonding, it's team dinners. this early in the season, an extra day on the road, I think it's fine.
They already had their team bonding when they went up to Foley's Ranch right before the season began.
Yeah, that's true.
I think if obviously the players don't have too much of a say on this, but I think if you would ask them, I think they would probably say, "Yeah, let's go home. I'm going to sleep in my bed. I want to see my girlfriend. I want to sleep in bed with my wife. I want to see my kids." You know, as opposed to being in what's to do in Calgary. Nothing against the people in Calgary, by the way, but what's to do in Calgary in the middle of October? Not much.
I can't answer that question because I may have information that could incriminate myself.
You've been to Calgary before?
I actually have a family in Calgary.
Have you been there when it's chilly out?
I've been there for the rodeo in the Calgary
the
Stampede.
The Stampede, right?
Yeah. So yes,
But that's
I didn't go to too many of the events because look, when you look at me, you don't really see cowboy, but they have a very vibrant nightlife scene if you're into certain things in Calgary, and it's not an awful place, but I mean your point's well taken, you know, but it's also a boatload of money to fly a charter an extra time, right?
Yeah. You think money's an object for the Vegas Golden Knights?
I think money is an object always, no matter what. I mean, how much you think it costs to fly that jet from, if they went from Seattle to here and then here to Calgary? I bet it costs an extra 50 grand.
You think so?
Yeah.
You know how much they charge for a beer at T-Mobile?
I do not.
You don't have to sell too many to cover that plane ticket.
50 grand.
I think it's
50
$18.
grand.
I think it's $18 a beer. You figure out. You don't have to sell too many beers to cover that.
Yeah, but he doesn't own the arena or the concessions.
Okay. Well, he's got to be getting some kickback on that.
You're probably getting some, but you know, $18 really?
Yeah.
Folks, we don't spend much time in the arena except in the press box. So can you comment below?
I believe it's $18 a beer.
And give us prices for wine and beer and Coke, even though I can't have it. But yeah, I mean, is the food really that expensive down there? I mean, they feed us peanuts and M&Ms and choco balls, so we don't really know.
You're missing
And
the popcorn. You're missing the popcorn. We've been accused of stealing popcorn.
I think we've actually covered the first week of the season, Joe. 3-0, undefeated, 6 points, solid goaltending, solid all-around play, I would say. And you can see the beginnings of what this VGK team is going to grow into. I'll give you an opportunity now. One time. Do you want to change your prediction that they're going to struggle to make the playoffs?
I would like to
amend your remarks.
Yes, you know how you can amend your taxes. I want to amend my pick.
Okay, go ahead.
Based upon what I've seen, they will be one of the top 3 teams in the Pacific Division.
They're going in through the division. No wild card.
No wild card. They will get in through the division. If they stay healthy. Yes, they will.
Yes, and Roma Deli is coming on board as a sponsor, and we're going to be doing 4 live podcasts from Roma Deli with very special guests throughout the course of the season.
Yes, and we'll announce it. So if you guys want to come down the day that we're taping at Roma Deli, come down, have dinner, meet the players, maybe grab some autographs while you're there. So
well, I don't know if we can say all that just yet, but we can say that if you come down to watch us talk on the camera with special VGK guests, we can guarantee you one thing, and that's a fantastic dinner. And you'll have the opportunity to join us and hang out and watch us do a podcast with, knock on wood, hopefully members of the Golden Knights or the announce team or something like that. Episode 41 will be done after the next 3-game block. So make sure you check back often. Every week, we're going to try to get a podcast up for you.
All right.
And we thank you for subscribing and liking. And if your friends don't have YouTube, I don't know how that's possible, but share it with them. Share it on your page. Tell people all about my Coke problem. I'm sure it's going to come up in the comments somewhere, but hey, I put it out there and I put $100 bounty per Coca-Cola on my head. So let's live a little and try and catch the fat guy with Coke. All right, folks, that's it. You got anything else, Joe?
I'm over and out. I actually do have one thing. I want to thank Leonardo and Todd Brunson, the owners of Roma Deli, for coming on board with us, and we look forward to a long-lasting relationship with them.
And we want to thank the Las Vegas Advisor for putting us up on the front page of their decades old, incredibly popular website in here in Las Vegas, www.lasvegasadvisor.com. If it happens here in Las Vegas, it's going to happen on the Las Vegas Advisor. So thanks to Anthony Curtis for doing that and helping us spread the word about hockey nights in Vegas.
All right. We're over and out.
Over and out. Thank you.
Take care.